It's interesting how they're doing this with Dune Awakening. So they've been sharing some exclusive shorts and TikToks, which are detailing some of the things that are going into the game. And I wish they had horizontal format, but they don't. They're only doing these in vertical format so far. But I did want to show people because they've got 3 videos up that are kind of cool. So you can watch the first one here. This is the search for water, it says.
What is Dune Awakening? Dune Awakening is a survival open world MMO game set on the planet of Arrakis. Funcom has been working with Legendary to stay true to the IP and to build the visuals out of the movie into a massive game world. What we're hoping to do is create an experience where you can play a survival game, first and foremost, where you must search for water, search for shelter, and walk softly on the sand to avoid the sandworms. In addition to this, you'll be doing it online with thousands of other players. If you want to know more about our game, remember to wishlist the game on Steam, join our Discord.
Yeah, I don't not really care about all that stuff. The only thing that makes me nervous about this game is the all the interviews they've given so far have been heavily promoting the PvP component. And a lot of people have said that this will be it looks like it's going to be a carbon copy of Conan Exiles, but modernized with a different IP. And people have said, like with Conan Exiles, they have PvE servers for people who don't want to do the PvP. So I'm hopeful that we will have like some sort of co-op PvE environment or PvE servers that we can do with our friends, as opposed to needing to be in that forced PvP environment. I'm traditionally not a huge fan of survival crafting games, but it's the Dune IP. And the question I have for Funcom is whether or not they did what they did with Conan Exiles, which is basically they just took an IP and slapped a game skin on it where there isn't really a narrative. So there are narrative aspects to Conan Exiles, but it's mostly just a crafting survival game, right? And so I'm wondering if this is just a crafting survival game set in the Dune world, or if they actually have a storyline and a narration to it. What I will say is, if you start looking at some of the shorts they've been producing, um,
Build your base in Dune Awakening.
Before we look at that one.
Arrakis is one of the harshest planets in the universe. Here are some of the reasons why. Arrakis is regularly blasted by sandstorms. In the beginning, you'll scramble to find shelter and hunker down.
What? Hang on. What part of that, Babylonia? Not in your experience. Different people bring different experiences. Hey, I said so many things and my brain's farting. You have a lot of hours in Conan Exiles. When you say not in my experience, what were you referring to? Because I completely already sidetracked.
What is Dune Awakening? Dune
What I like to
Awakening
look at
is a
here,
survival open world MMO game.
If you look at the graphics, this is just the alpha stuff, and I've been really impressed with what I've seen so far from what they're showing from like the alpha.
The planet of Arrakis.
Oh, we already saw that one. Let's look at this one.
Arrakis is one of the harshest planets in the universe. Here are some of the reasons why. Arrakis is regularly blasted by sandstorms.
Bubble says there are major story elements, but they're told in a slightly different way from, say, World of Warcraft or BG3. Gotcha. So it's less narrative and more the world is here with story beats that you can get to if you choose to pursue them. All right, so
in the beginning, you scramble.
The lore is pretty true to the books. That's good to know.
To find shelter and hunker down as you wait for the storm to pass.
So these are like the underground shelters you're going to be. They're not quite the sieges though, because those are going to be for the Fremen only. But you've obviously got underground shelters that we can look
Water
at.
is scarce and must be extracted and conserved. Being in the sun too long will make you dehydrate fast, so keep to the shadows by day. Wear a still suit on your journeys. Harvest water drops from dew fields by hand as you cling to life. Then bring
so they've got wall climbing.
A blood exsanguinator.
Blood exsanguinator?
When you expect conflict. You'll want to travel to biomes further away, but crossing the desert is dangerous. Moving on the sand causes vibrations. This will make the sandworm come after you. Remember to turn off all your Holtzman tech as it enrages the worm.
So you can have tech that's turned on, but you need to turn it off when you face the worm. But also it looks like they've got vehicles, which is interesting.
You and your guild will want to be far away when it hits. Wishlist the game and join our Discord.
Okay, I don't need to wishlist your game, but I do like to look at these videos. This is the base building, which everybody has said from those people who really loved the building in Conan Exiles. This is going to be the big component for a lot of people because they're already starting to show off the base building capabilities here.
In Dune Awakening. Shortly after starting out, you'll be able to claim land and build your first base. Upgrade it with machinery and decorate it to make your home on Arrakis. Later on, you'll be able to unlock more advanced construction and distinct visual styles. But remember, Arrakis is the most dangerous planet in the universe. Make sure to shield your base from any threats that may come its way. Wishlist the
So, Hembar asked, "What game is this?" Yeah, it's Dune Awakening. Bubbleoni says there are definitely official PVE servers. Well, that gives me hope that there's going to be official PVE servers for um, Dune Awakening as well. Bubbleoni, were there official PVE servers when Conan Exiles launched, or were those something that came later after people asked for them? Because I don't remember, I wasn't available for the launch of Conan Exiles, so I don't really know how that game launched. But from what I've seen in they've done three of these vertical formats on TikTok and YouTube, and it looks like they're previewing base building, they're previewing ships, they're previewing ships in space, but they're previewing vehicles. They're previewing the sieges as well as underground areas and biomes that you need to travel to for sunlight protection and staying in the shadows and not dying. They've talked about the importance of the sandworms and turning off your tech, which is true to the lore of the books, because the tech puts them into a frenzy. Um, they've showed the importance of the still suit. They showed the still suit. They also showed a guy jumping and having like a boost pack thing. So I mean, I'm genuinely I'm really interested in the game, even if I'm very nervous about the forced if it's forced. If it's not forced PvP, I have nothing to worry about. But they haven't given any official answers as to what they're going to be doing for the launch of the game yet. But I just know in their interviews they always talk about the importance of PvP and, you know, taking other people's settlements over if they've got resources that you need and that kind of stuff, which is like, I would love it if if there were official PvE servers. I would definitely be like, we're going to form a chapter on this game and we're going to go forth with the guild and have fun. Um, Down with PvP for sure. Bubbly says it started about 6 months after launch and there were already PvE servers at the time. Says Mel and I mostly hosted private servers, but I've never had an issue finding a PvE server on the official servers if I looked for one. That's really good to know. So that makes me hopeful that they're going to do the same thing here where we'll be able to, because it would be really cool to find, not everyone's going to want to play this because it's survival crafting. But if there were half a dozen to a dozen people that wanted to do this, on a once or twice a week basis, this would be a total cool side game to do, just for fun for a few months to go, run the storyline, do some quests, build a base, build some stuff, ride a sandworm. Um, it'd be fun just to try it out and see what it's going to be like. I also would really like to try out Enshrouded, but I'm not going to do the early access. I'm going to wait till it hits full release, and then we're going to do a call to action and see how many people want to go to Enshrouded for, a couple months of like once a week activity or something. But I think there's something to be said for this glut of crafting survival games that are coming out in the last, 18 months and probably the next 18 months ahead. Um, yeah, I'm not sure how the combat's going to be here yet, Babylonia. So we're going to see. We'll see more as we get into it. I didn't mind Conan Exiles when I played it. What was it last year? I think last year I did like um, I think I did a first impressions video on Conan Exiles, and then I played it for like 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and I genuinely had a good time. The only reason I quit was because there was other things to play, so it was like it wasn't something I was going to ever main. But I did have a good time in Conan Exiles, and I could see where, since I know the IP for Dune way more than I know the IP for Conan, I would probably have more fun in a Dune crafting survival game because I know all the things, so it's like I'm familiar with it, and it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna build a base and we're gonna shield it and we're gonna get revenge on the Harkonnens, and all this other stuff. So it'll be fun to see how that plays out. Yeah, and Shrouded. Someone was showing me the voxel explosions the other day. My TikTok, I was watching a guy doing it. Him and his brother were playing in Shrouded, and they were just minds were being blown by the fact that you could blow through walls and blow things up. But when it says, I love the movement in Conan Exiles. The building was very cool too. I was with the PV monsters and tribal raids. The purges, gotcha. When the tribals raided you, but it was buggy as hell. Yeah, Valheim had that too when you'd be building and all of a sudden you would get like a pop-up notice that something was about to attack you, and then you would just get waves of enemies attacking you in your base, and you had to like hunker down or defend inside and survive it. I vaguely remember that one of the first times I played Conan Exiles, and I do remember later on when I tried it last year, I remember you could turn that off, or you could at least soften it so that it didn't happen as often if you just wanted to play it on easy mode. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do for the launch of Dune Awakening, because they're probably going to take all the things they learned from Conan Exiles and say, how do we make it better? Which is going to be great. And I feel like the potential for Dune is bigger than it was for Conan because there are more people interested in Dune overall, especially with the films, and they've tied in the visuals of the game to the visuals of the film, and they've worked directly with the VFX team and the sound effects team and the creative artist team on the films for the game. They've done some blog showcases and developer updates, which I've really enjoyed. I've covered a few of those on the YouTube channel already for Dune Awakening. It looks incredibly intriguing, so I'm very hopeful that this is going to be something that becomes a game that is fun for a lot of people. I'm assuming a 2024 launch. They still haven't said really when the game is coming. They just keep telling people as they say here, they're like, wish list it. And it's like, I'm not going to wish list it. When it comes out, I'll get it on the Xbox. Well, says plus the whole mechanics of looking for the perfect woodworker NPC or the cook or armor, getting all that lined up for your base was a ton of fun and really rewarded exploration and challenge to tame them and bring them back. Although technically in Conan, aren't you just you're enslaving them in the true Conan fashion? You're gonna be my slave, bitch.